Yeah, welcome to another class session at the We Do Consult. Comprehension is the topic we've been taking, and we've considered different things about comprehension passages, the types of questions or question approaches, and the quintessential principles to follow in engaging comprehension passages. In this class, we also want to take another passage now and engage the passage together and answer all the questions that are asked from the passage. And I believe after now, you'll be able to engage comprehension passages with boldness, with audacity, and answer all the questions correctly. Is that true about you? Okay, let's quickly go through this. 2019, you hear me? Passage 2. Like all reptiles, snakes are cold-blooded, or more correctly, ectothermic. That is, they cannot produce their own body heat. Instead, they rely on the sun to heat their bodies. Something is being said about snakes there. Take note. Something is being said about snakes there. Now, another thing, because they do not rely on energy from food to generate body heat, snakes can survive on an extremely meager diet. I see another thing being said about snakes. But continue. Some wait for months between successive meals, and a few survive by eating a large meal just once or twice a year. You see, the writer is just giving us more information about the diet, about the feeding pattern, the feeding habit. When they do eat, snakes swallow their prey, rather than biting off small pieces. Many snakes have specialized jaws that enable them to swallow animals that are far larger than their own heads. Although uncommon, some snakes, such as the African rock python, have been observed eating animals as large as an antelope or a small cow. Okay, can you see how many sentences devoted to just the feeding pattern, right? Yeah, although you still have another one that they're ectothermic, that is taking their body heat from the sun, right? But more of all the other sentences, I'll be focusing on their feeding patterns in paragraph 1. Now let's go to paragraph 2, another feature. With over 2,500 species belonging to more than 10 families, that is on their variety, snakes are a large and successful group. They owe much of this success to their versatility. Snakes occupy habitats ranging from underground burrows to the top of the trees to ocean depths as great as 150 meters. They are found on every continent except Antarctica. Take note of that, where they are found, their habitat. They are found on every continent except Antarctica, that is the Oceania. And although they are most abundant in tropical areas, many survive in regions marked by extreme cold. The only places without snakes are parts of the polar regions and isolated islands. Where don't you find snakes? Polar regions and what? Isolated islands, such as the Republic of Ireland and New Zealand, as opposed to places. Now, as opposed, that means where they are abundantly found. Now, a place where you don't find them, and now a place where they are abundant, as opposed to places in Nigeria. That is testing your knowledge there. Like Plateau and Gombe State in the northern part, where there is a what? Large population of snakes. Do I still need to revise the passage again? Very clear, straightforward. It can be inferred. Can you see? Deductional, inferential question. That means even before you continue, you know the answer is not in the passage, but there are features given in the passage that we hint you on the answer. It can be inferred from the passage that snakes are what? Look at the options: heterogeneous, voracious cow eaters, great insect eaters, and homogeneous reptiles. I told you, if you see inferred, it means you are not to pick answer from the passage, but you need to apply. Right? When you see deduce, infer, you inferred, it could be said that it means you need to apply the knowledge of the characteristics stated in the passage. So, voracious cow eaters will be off it. Great insect eaters, in fact, that one is not even eliminated. So it's between heterogeneous and what? Homogeneous, right? And because of different things, I'm not answering the questions or a question yet. Now let's go down to where we gave the discussion. And you see that there was something said about how snakes are versatile, right? How about their diversity, about having many species, right? About over 2,000, right? Varieties. Do you see something related to that in paragraph 2, sentence 1? With over 2,500 species belonging to more than 10 families, snakes are large and what? Successful group. And their habitats, their versatility, they can survive any areas, whether there is food, whether there is cold, whether there is heat, anywhere. They exist in many continents except what? Antarctica. And even extreme cold, they survive that. So that makes them what? Heterogeneous creatures, not homogeneous. Not about one species, many species that can survive different terrains, different climates, and all likes. And number 2, the most notable thing about snakes, according to the passage, is that they what? If when we're reading it, you see that much attention is given to 2 features. What are they? Their feeding habits and their what? Versatility. But more, if you look at the number of sentences, number of words devoted to feeding pattern, is what? Is more than what? Than all other features. That's why I say the most notable. They abound in Gombe and Plateau states, yes, but that is not the most notable thing. It's just an expression, just minute in the passage. They are versatile in production, yet, but just a sentence as regards that. Eat big, but seldom, yes. Yes, they exist in families, yes, but not most notable in the passage, according to the passage, as eating big, but seldom. And you can see that abundant in what? Paragraph 1. And you bear me witness to that, right? So let's go to the third question. Which of the following is true according to the passage? Which of the following is true according to the passage? That means others are not true. You jettison others. The question is both textual, on the type of question, right? Question approach. And it is also what? Textual. It is textual and you jettison too. Snakes are not in the polar regions. Is that true from the passage? That snakes are not in the what? In the polar region. B, snakes are endemic on every continent. C, there are countless number of snakes in the Republic of Ireland, and snakes are seldom seen at what? Antarctica. Look at option B. Snakes are endemic on every continent. Endemic means present on every continent. Look at that word every. Go to the passage. What do you see in this paragraph? This sentence, after 15 meters, you have they are found on every continent. But you don't stop there, except Antarctica. That means not on every continent. It has exception. That is just to confuse non-diligent readers. Look at option C and D. And they mention polar regions. And they say snakes are not in the polar regions. But the writer said that is where they even exist most, right? Yeah. And those are the places without snakes in paragraph 2. So the correct one is that is in where? Option what? Yeah? You said B is not true, C is not true, D is not true. Which one is now true? A, that snakes are not in the what? In the polar regions. And how do we get that? That they are not in the polar regions. Look at the last sentence. What begins it? The only places without snakes are what? Part of the polar regions, an isolated island. You don't have snakes in those places. Let's take the next question. It can be deduced from the passage that snakes have no or external auditory organs. Is there anything said about that? That is even not it. Visible internal locomotive organs. Is there anything said about it? Throw away that one. No visual sense of measurement. Is there anything said about that? Large appetites for antelopes. Yes, although a part is only being mentioned about antelope, but The only one that is related to the passage is large appetite, right? About their appetite. So that one we into on what to pick. A to C do not even have any reference to the passage. So option D alone has connection with the passage. And the last question before we close and end our session on comprehension passage, you have a suitable title for this passage is, I told you how do you get a suitable passage title for a passage. You read the whole passage. You now take note of all the points being raised in each of the paragraphs, and then you now bring together all the points, and you now give an expression that will summarize all the points. The expression that summarizes the points being raised, all the points, will give you hint on the title for the passage. And look at these options. Option A, feeding habit of snakes. Some characteristics of snakes. Snakes are legless, cold-blooded reptiles, species of snakes in Nigeria and other lands. If you look at it from option D, something is said about species of snakes, right? But not only in Nigeria, other lands. That is true according to the passage, right? Option C, snakes are legless. Nothing said about being legless. You only mentioned about being cold-blooded reptiles, right? That is true according to the passage. So something has made that one nullified. Then option A, feeding habit of snakes. Yes, also being said in the passage. But title is not only about feeding, it's not only about species, it's not about being cold-blooded or ectothermic as discussed in the passage, but many other things are also being said about snakes. What about the habitat? Not in the options, and different things. So the correct answer to these passages will be option B, some characteristics of snakes. That expression summarizes the whole passage, whether feeding habitat, whether their body temperature, whether their species, whether where they are found, that is the habitat, and how their reproductive feature too. All of them, they are characteristics of snakes. I believe you get it. After now, go confidently and answer.